Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So in today's video we're going to learn how to make this stylish denim corset top. If that sounds like something you're interested in, keep on watching and let us get right into this tutorial. So guys, we're going to draft this pattern from scratch. So we're going to start by marking out our bust point line, our under bust, waist and full length. So my waistline is 17 inches, my under bust is 13 inches, my bust point is 10 inches, and then I just went ahead to mark the full length we're working with, which is 22 inches. I'm going to mark that out and then we're going to go ahead to rule a straight line. Next, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and after marking that, we're going to go down by 1 inch from that point for our shoulder slope, and then we're going to mark our armhole depth on this point here. After marking that out, you want to rule the lines to meet each other. Now we're going to mark 3 inches at this point here. That is not the neckline we're going to work with, but I just want to mark that out as a guide for our shoulder slope. First of all, we're still going to work on this part. After doing that, we're going to go ahead to mark out our dart. So I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and then from that point I'm going to come down by 1 inch on my bust point line, and then on this part here I'm also marking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Now we're going to rule a straight line at that point to meet that 1 inch we came down by, and then we're going to mark out our dart. So for the dart, I'm just going to mark ½ inch on both sides on this point here, and then we're going to rule it all the way to the top as well as the bottom. Next, on this shoulder slope we created, I'm going to take note of what I have there, and what I had was 4.5 inches. I'm dividing that by 2, and then I'm going to mark that out to get the midpoint for that part there. Now I'm going to rule that to meet with this point here. So we're just going to rule a straight line to connect the shoulder line to the bust point line. Next, I'm going to take note of what I have in between my bust point and under bust, and what I had there was about 2.75 inches, and I'm just marking that all around to get the bust circumference. So I'm going to just mark this all the way across and then trace it out to create a circle at the bust area. Now I'm going to take note of what I have at my dart area here, and what we have there is 1 inch, but because I am slightly busty, I'm going to go ahead to mark ½ inch on the inner part and then 0.05 on the outer part, and then I'm also going to distribute that same measurement at the bottom part. So after doing that, you want to mark that out and then just rule a straight line for them to meet each other. After ruling out the lines, you want to curve that back to the top part the way you see me doing right now. So you're going to curve it all the way up on both sides. Now I'm taking note of what I have at my under bust point here, and that is what we're going to use for the top part as well. So what we have there is about 1.05 inches. So we're going to go ahead to mark that out. You want to mark half inch on the inner part and then mark the remaining inch you have on the outer part. So before I rule that out, I'm also going to go in on both sides again by 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to mark 1/4 inch on both sides, and then after marking that out, we're going to go ahead to curve it back into our measurements. We're curving this back into our bust point line. Now what I'm doing next is I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4, and I'm going to mark it out. For me that is 9 inches. I'm going to go ahead to mark 9 inches, and then from that point I'm going to come down by half an inch and mark that out. Now on my armhole area, I'm going to take note of what I have at that point there. I'm going to divide what I have there into two, and I'm going to mark it out. So you can see that I'm going ahead to mark that point out. So after marking that out, we're going to go ahead to connect that all the way to our cup, just to create the shape of the cup very well. So you can see what I am doing right there. I've gone ahead to trace it out, and then now we're going to go ahead to rule a straight line at this point here. Next, I'm going to go ahead to connect from this point all the way to that part, just to finish up the cup for this part. So you can see this is what we have so far. Now on the other side, I am going to determine how deep I want this part to be, because we do not have any yoke, but there is a plunged sort of neckline at this point. So I'm just using my pencil to just curve that with my freehand sketch. I'm just going to curve that back into the cup, and then when I'm okay with the desired shape that I have, I'm going to go in again with my marker so you see this clearly. So guys, because this is a three-way cup, on this point here I'm going to mark 2 inches, and after marking that 2 inches, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side here. We're also going to mark 2 inches. After marking that out, on this point here we're going to mark 2.5 inches, and as well as this point we're also going to mark 2.5 inches. Now we're going to curve these points to meet each other. So after that, we're going to start putting in our body measurement divided by 4. So I've already marked out my bust measurement. Now I'm marking out my under bust measurement divided by 4, my waist measurement as well as my hip measurement divided by 4. And then we're also going to return the dart we took. So you can see that as I mark my body measurement, I'm also returning the dart. I'm taking note of the dart we took out on this point, and then we're going to return that back. So that is what we're going to do. After marking out our measurement, we're just going to connect the lines to meet each other. Now after drafting, we're going to slit open this point here as well as the bottom part in order for us to better work on our pattern. After slitting this open, we're going to close up this point here, as you can see. So I'm just going to take my tape and then we're going to close up that point and use the tape to tape it down in place. So after taping that down, you can see that our pattern has been slightly destroyed at the top. Not to worry, we're going to create a new shoulder line from this point here. So what I'm doing is I'm just ruling a straight line all the way to this point here to create a new line for our shoulder. And then I'm going ahead to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I'm going to mark that out. Then from that point, I'm going to go in by 1 inch and I'm marking that out. I'm also going to go in from that point and I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. This is going to be for the strap because the strap is going to be together with our cup. So now this is going to be the new point we're going to work with. Now I'm going to rule a straight line from that point all the way to where we have the cup. You can see what I am doing right now. I'm just ruling out the straight line, and then on the opposite side I'm also going to rule a straight line as well. After ruling out that line on this point here, we're going to come out by 1 inch. So I'm marking out 1 inch to serve as a guide for me to curve out that part because that is not how it is going to sit. So I'm just trying to use my curve to do this, but it wasn't working out, so I just decided to use freehand to just curve this back into our cup. So I'm just going to trace that out, and then when I'm okay with the desired shape, I'm going to go in again with my marker so you see this clearly. So guys, after curving out that point, we're going to go ahead to cut out all our pattern pieces for the front. So on the shoulder line, you can see that while I was cutting, I went ahead to slant this by 1/2 inch because we did not do that initially. So I went ahead to do that now, and I'm going to cut out the remaining part of our pattern. So for the main bodies, we do not have any darts, so I'm just closing up this part together, and then we're going to place the patterns together, and then I'm just going to tape it down in place. So after cutting out all the pattern pieces and making sure everything is okay, I'm going ahead to label everything so I do not get confused when I am trying to transfer this to the fabric and when we're sewing. So with that, this is the pattern pieces for the front. We're going to go ahead to work on the back pattern. So guys, for the back, I've already went ahead to rule out all the lines, all the necessary lines. So this point here is our zipper allowance. Now we're going to start off by marking out our shoulder measurement divided by 2, the same way we did for the front piece. And then from that point, we're coming down by 1 inch. And then from that 1 inch, we came down by, we're marking our armhole depth. And I'm going to rule that out. Next, we're going to go ahead to mark out our dart for the back, and we're going to start our measurement from the line after our zipper allowance. I'm just marking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and then we're going to rule a straight line at that point. Now on both sides of our dart leg, we're going to come out by half of an inch, and then we're going to roll that out to create our darts. Now on the shoulder line, we're going to come in by 1 inch. So I'm going to mark 1 inch at this point here, and then after marking that, we're going to go in again and mark 1.5 inches the way we did for the front. Now I'm going to rule a straight line. So this is going to be our new armhole, because we're no longer working with the other one we ruled out initially. Now I've gone ahead to rule that out. Now on this point here, we're going to come down by 1 inch for our shoulder slope, because we're also going to do the shoulder slope for the back. Now from this other point, we're going to rule that line all the way down. So from that point, I went ahead to mark 8.5 inches, because that is where we're going to create the curve all the way to the other side of our bodies. So I'm going to rule a straight line and stop at that 8.5 inches mark I made, and then we're going to curve this out something like what we did for the front. So I was trying to use my curve, it wasn't coming out the way I wanted it, so I just used my hand to just curve this, and then when I'm done curving it to the desired shape that I want, I'm going to go ahead to trace everything out with my marker. Next, I'm going to go ahead to add my bust measurement divided by 4 on this point. After marking that out on this point here, we're going to come down from this point by half an inch, and we're going to mark that out. So now that is going to be where our armhole is going to be connected to, because we went down by half an inch for the front. We also want to do the same thing for the back. Now I'm going to curve this out, but I'm first of all going to come down from this point all the way to that point here, and then we're just going to curve this all the way to that point where we came down by half an inch. Now I'm just tracing everything out with my marker before we continue adding in the rest of our body measurements. Next, I'm adding in my under bust measurement divided by 4. I'm going to mark that out, and then we're going to move on to mark our waist measurement divided by 4. I marked that out, and then now we want to return the dart we took out on that point. I'm also going to return the one on this part here. You can see that we took out a little something there. I'm going to take note of how much we have there, and then return it on that point there. Now we're going to finish up with our hip measurements divided by 4, and then we're going to rule everything to meet each other. So this is what we have so far for the back. Now we want to eliminate bulging at the zipper area, so we're coming in on this point by half an inch, and then we're going to rule this back into the bodies. So I just went ahead to rule this out, and after ruling this out, we're done with our back pattern. I'm going to go ahead to cut out the pattern pieces, and then we're going to move on to transfer this to our fabric. Now I'm cutting my front pattern piece on fold, as you can see, and I'm adding 1/2 inch at the top as well as the bottom, but for the sides we're going to add 1 inch sewing allowance. So guys, I forgot to mention that at this point you want to through by 1 inch, so we're going to do it on this front piece because we did not do it initially. So I went ahead to come up by 1 inch, and then we're just going to curve that back into our measurement, and then we're going to trim it out. After correcting the pattern, we are now going to go ahead to correct the fabric we've already gone ahead to cut out. So that is what I just did. We're also going to continue cutting out all the fabric pieces the way you see me doing, adding 1/2 inch at the top as well as at the bottom. Then at the sides we're going to have 1 inch for the seam allowance, but at this dart area we're also going to have 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead to cut out all the fabric pieces. So with that, we've come to the end of this tutorial. If you enjoyed watching and you found this video helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed already, and stay tuned for the sewing part of this tutorial where I show you how to sew this denim corset top. If you enjoy watching videos like this, you're also going to like this one, so go check it out right now. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.